Hi everyone, welcome to Val Fashion's YouTube channel. This is me saying thank you to my subscribers. Thank you, I appreciate you all so much. If this is your first time of clicking on my video, please consider to subscribe. Thank you and welcome. Today we'll be learning how to make this female shirt you can see on the mannequin. So without wasting much of your time, let's get right into it. Okay, to begin this tutorial, I'll be using this fabric. It's a thick chiffon fabric. I'll be using it to achieve this shirt. So the first thing to do is to fold my front piece. My front piece now, to determine the amount of fabric to fold, because I'm making a shirt, and this shirt is going to get to the hip area. The hip is 44. When you divide it by 4, you have 11. So 11 plus my sewing allowance of 2 inches, that's 13. I'm going to be adding 2.5 because I'm making a shirt. That 2.5 is my button allowance. So I'm going to fold my fabric and then we'll see what I'm talking about. So I've placed my fabric on fold already. I placed the biggest measurement I'm using here is 44 inches, which is the hip measurement, because the shirt will go all the way down to the hip. So which is 44 inches, 44 divided by 4, that's 11, plus 2 inches for my sewing allowance, and then 2.5 inches for my button allowance. Okay, so here is my 2.5 inches, which is my button allowance. So that's why I have this line drawn here. So all my measurements will be starting after the button allowance. So here is my shoulder line. The shoulder line, here I entered the shoulder measurement. The shoulder measurement is 8 inches. That's 16 divided by 2. That's 8 inches plus half inch for joining my sleeve. And then I went ahead to create my shoulder slant. So this is the slant. I came down by half 1 inch from 8 inches here. That's from my shoulder measurement, and then I connected it to 3 inches here to create our shoulder slant, as we all know that our shoulders are not straight. So I came down by 8 inches for my armhole measurement. Here is my 8 inches, so which is my chest line, or you call it the armhole line. Okay, so the full length of the shirt I'm working with is 27 inches. So plus my hemming allowance of 1 inch. So I'm going to be marking that 1 inch here now. Okay, so now I'll mark my waistline. From shoulder to waist is 16 inches. So I already have my vertical measurements marked out. So I'm going to be entering my horizontal measurement. The bust here is 39 inches. When you divide it by 4, it will give me 9 3/4. So I'm going to be entering this 9 3/4 on the armhole line, which is the chest line also. So here is my 9 3/4. Then I'll add 2 inches for my sewing allowance. So the waist measurement is 34 inches. So 34 divided by 4, that's 8.5, plus 2 inches for sewing allowance. So you go ahead to add your 2 inches for sewing allowance. Then the hip measurement is 44 inches. So from shoulder to hip is 25 for this person. So I'm going to enter my hip measurement on the shoulder, on the hip line. Excuse me, 11 inches plus 2 inches for my sewing allowance. So this is what we have here. So I'm going to connect my markings, the waist, and then the bust to the waist. So I'll come here to enter my armhole measurement. This is my front piece. So the front piece, I'll get the midpoint of my armhole, then I'll go in by 3/4 of an inch at the midpoint. So here's my 3/4 of an inch. I'll slant it back to the shoulder line like this, and then I'll go ahead and draw my armhole. So I'm done with the front, so I'll go ahead and cut it out. So I folded my material for the back piece, and as you can see, I folded in my 2.5 inches, which is for my button allowance. So of course, by the time I folded it in, it means that I have my actual measurement. That 2.5 inches is for button allowance. So that is why I folded it in this way. So okay, there's something we're going to be doing on the shoulder line of the back. The back is usually higher than the front because it comes forward to make up the front piece. So I'll be going up from this shoulder line by 1.5 inch. So here is my shoulder line. So you can see I have excess around it. So I'll be going up by 1.5 inch. This is a female shirt I'm making. So this 1.5 inch, I actually need 1 inch to come forward. That's to come forward to make up the shoulder slant in front. Because you don't want your shirt, the shirt does not stop at the midpoint of the shoulder. It comes forward to like the front. So now that I've added my 1.5 inch, half inch is for joining the front and the back together. And then the remaining 1 inch is what will come forward. So remember that if I've done this, the actual shoulder armhole measurement is 8 inches. So it means that I need to reduce the front armhole for this one to also come forward. I need to reduce the front length for this to come forward. So I'll be needing half inch. Remember that I added 1.5 here for joining the front and the back. So I also need half inch to join both the front and the back. So what I'll be doing here, I'll be going down by just half inch. That's I'll be cutting out half inch from my front measurement, so that I can be left with the half inch for joining, because 1 inch will come from the back to make up the front. So this is me cutting out that half inch. Sorry, my camera didn't really capture this part. So now that I've cut it out, okay, so I'll go ahead to draw my neckline. So right now that I've cut it out, this now is giving me 2 inches because half inch is out of this part now. So we're going to mark the neckline we're using is 3 inches wide, or you can use 2.5. Let me use 2.5, and then this 2 inches and 2 inches now this way. 2.5 by 2 inches. This is my back neckline. So for the front, I'll also be using the same 2.5 by 2 inches. Remember that when 1 inch comes forward to make up the front, it will now give me a neckline of 3 inches in front. And then half inch at the back, because half inch is for joining them together. Okay? So I'm going to cut the neckline. I'm cutting the front. And then I'm also going to go ahead to cut the back. So, and then we'll go ahead to cut our shoulder slant. So here we are. So now we'll go ahead to fold this part. But before I do that, let me cut out the sides so that it's easier to work with it. So now this is what we have. I'll fold this 1.5 inch forward like this. So I'll just bring in my iron to iron it. I'll make sure that I have half inch placed from the back, placed on top of the front here, before I go ahead to create my armhole. So now that I've placed my half inch on top of half inch, so I'll place my tape like this, so you can see I have my actual 8 inches running from the shoulder line to this part. So I will get the midpoint of this shoulder, of the armhole, sorry. So here is the midpoint of the armhole. So remember that I went in by 3/4 of an inch for the front. For the back, I'll be going in by 1/4 of an inch. So meaning that I'll have to come out with 1/4 inch, because already I've taken 3/4 here. So I'll just bring out 1/4 inch here to give me half inch. So this is now my back armhole. So can you see how it came outward here? So I have my back armhole coming outward and my front armhole going inward by 1/4 inch. So now I hope you can see this neckline. So now I can see that I have excess around here. All you need to do is because the front is coming forward to make up this. So you're going to trim this part like this so that they are equal. So you can see what we have here. So this is my actual neckline, the way it should look. Okay, so I have my back neckline. So I'll come here to this side and trim out the excess I have at the hem, and then I'll curve the hem. I'll go up by 1 inch from this side. You can do 1.5, you can do 1 inch, depending on how curvy you want that part to be. So in this case, I'm just going up by 1 inch. Then you slant it towards the middle and then go ahead and cut it out. Okay. So now that I have this, I have my front piece and my back piece. So now this front piece, remember that I folded my button allowance, so you can see the shape I have here. It's always better to fold it before cutting your neckline so that when you fold your button allowance, everything will match up with the neckline. So I'll go ahead to slash it open. Okay, so the next thing to do now is to cut my sleeve, the bishop sleeve I'll be using. Okay, so I've placed my fabric for my sleeve. The sleeve length I'm working with is going to be 25 inches. The sleeve is going to be quite long, and then it will also still have a band. So 25 inches, I'm marking my 25 inches here. Okay, so the fabric I placed for my sleeve is quite wide because I want to have gathering at the upper part of the sleeve and also at the down part of the sleeve. So here I'm going to just come down by the calf's height of the person. This calf's height is 3.5. So I'm just coming down by 4 inches because half inch is for joining the sleeve at the joining the sleeve to the shoulder. Okay, so I'm making this sleeve quite wide because it's not the person's actual measurement. This is to have that gathers around there. So it just going to make this inverted S like this. Okay, and then I'll also come here. I want to have 11 inches here at the hem, so I'll go ahead to connect it like this. Okay, so I'll just go ahead to cut my sleeve. It's that simple. Cut out my sleeve, I'll place it to cut the second one. So I've cut out my second sleeve. So the next thing to do is to fold my fabric to cut out my band. My band is going to be 2.5 inches after sewing. So I'm going to make it 3 inches, and you can see I'm cutting it on fold. So that means when it is open, that's 6 inches, but I'm cutting it on fold because I don't want my band to have joining at the lower part. So here is my 3 inches. I'm going to use this line as my guide, as the savage of the fabric. So here I have my 3 inches, and then I have my 3 inches here. So the width of this band, I'll be using the person's round wrist measurement. The round wrist measurement is 8 inches. 8 inches plus 8 inches plus sewing allowance of 2 inches, that's 10. On fold, of course, that's 5 inches. I've added 1 inch on fold. So if I fold it this way, which is what I'll be doing, I'll mark my 5 inches. So mark my 5 inches, and then this is my 3 inches here. So I'm just going to mark cut on that 3 inches. So I want to reconfirm my 5 inches, or you can use 5.5, whichever one. So here, here is my band. And see what I have. So I need two of this for the right and the left sleeve. I'll place it to cut the second one. Okay, so now that I've cut out my second band, so this is what I'll be doing. You're going to fold it bad face facing bad face like this. That's fold it this way, and then top stitch this part. Then you gather the hem of your sleeve. I'll gather the hem of my sleeve so that it will fit into this band. Of course, you can see that the hem of my sleeve is wider than the band. So I'm just going to gather it using the highest stitch on my machine to gather it so that it will fit into this band. So that's that for the sleeve, and I also gather the sleeve cap to fit into the armhole because it's quite wider than the armhole. So the next thing to do is to bring my front piece and then fold it, this button allowance. I'm going to be folding 1/2 inch and then 1 inch. Remember that I added 2.5 inches, so I'll fold 1/2 inch, then 1 inch. So of course 1 inch will be left, that will be my button allowance. After doing that, I'll go ahead and join the shoulders together. Then I'll come back and show us how to cut the collar. Okay, so I've folded my button allowance, and I've also joined my shoulder. As you can see, I neatly joined my shoulder. So the next thing to do now is to cut our collar. So before we do that, we must confirm our neckline. So here I placed my fabric on fold. So you can see I have 9 inches. Let's call this 9 inches. So I want to cut my collar. We're going to be having the lower collar, which is the marrying collar, and then the upper one that will fold on it. So to do that, I have 9 inches already. So I'll place my paper on fold like this. I want to have a collar of 1.5. So here, if I place 9 inches on fold, so here's my 9 inches on fold plus 1/2 inch for turning the collar. So I'm going to be marking my 1.5 here on this line. So here is my 1.5. I'll go ahead to connect it like this. So now that I've done this, this is the lower part of the collar. This is the part that will sit on the neckline. So I will come here and go up by 1/2 inch. So I'll go up by 1/2 inch. So by the time I go up by 1/2 inch, this is to achieve the curved neckline. Remember that the front neckline is curved. You remember we use 2 inches as our neck depth. So you see, I want to have this curve here. So if you want the front collar to be smaller, that's this side to be smaller than this side, you can leave it this way. But if you still want the same 1.5, all you need to do is to go up here by that same 1.5. So here too by 1.5, and then you connect it like this. And you see, so this will be how your collar, what your collar will look like. Let me bring in my scissors and cut it. This is what my collar looks like. So you cut this part. So you can see that we have our 1.5 going upwards like this, but I don't want to have that same 1.5 there, so I'm just going to remove mine. I'm just going to trim mine off. And then also, if you want to have your curve around here, because some collars are straight, some are curvy, you can just come in by 1/2 inch from this point and then create this curve like this. You see what we have? But like I said, I want my collar, I want this part to be smaller than this part. So I'm just going to be cutting out mine like this. I just took my time to explain that because it depends on what you want to achieve. So this is how I want mine to be. So I'm going to go ahead now to cut the upper one. Now the up. So this is what the lower collar is going to be. So the upper collar is going to be 3 inches. 3 inches. So I'm using this remaining paper to achieve my 3 inches. So let me just cut it straight. So remember that the neck width that we have is 9 inches. So the same 9 inches here. So I'm going to mark it like this plus half inch. So now I'll mark my 3 inches here. I have my 3 inches up to this point. So everything I have here is 3 inches. So I'll come to the midpoint of the neckline. I'll go down by half inch. This is the side that will sit at the back. So I'll go down by half inch. Then I'll use my ruler to slant the line this way. So, and I'll now come here. Remember that the neck width we are working with is 9 inches. That's 18 inches when it is open. So I'll come in here by 1.5 because this collar, I don't want it to get to the end of this, that's of the lower collar. So it's not supposed to get to the end of it, depending on what you want to achieve. So I'll come in at the down part by 1.5 inch, and then I'll slant it this way. I'll also go ahead to cut out this half inch I came down here by. So here we are. So this is what I have for the upper collar, and then this is what I have for the lower collar. So you can see my difference of 1.5 inch. So you can see even as it is paper, you can see how it is fitting into this part. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and place on my fabric to cut. I'll be adding half inch up here, half inch down here. That's for my sewing allowance, and I'll add half inch round. So the same thing is what I'll be doing to the lower part. I'll add half inch round for my sewing allowance. Then I'll show us. Okay, so as you can see, I've cut out my collars. You can see I have this part, which is the lower collar. You can see how it is. I folded half inch. I folded half inch here because this will be for top stitching on the front part of my collar. Of course, I said I was going to be adding half inch to my measurement. Can you see? Even despite the fact that I folded half inch, you can see I still have half inch up. So that means I added 1 inch to this measurement, half inch round. Okay, so I folded this part half inch, and I didn't fold this part because this one will be sewn from inside. And I've also added my gum stay to it. I used the lightweight gum stay. I've added it to it on both sides. So on this one too, I also cut out my collar. You can see I have half inch up, half inch down here, and I have half inch by the side. So the next thing to do is to take this to the sewing machine. I'm going to be sewing on that half inch round here, here, and then this way. Then I'll bring it out from this side. So then I'll go ahead and show us how to fix the lower collar to the upper collar before we attach it to the neckline. So as you can see, I've turned my upper collar already and I've top stitched it. I sewed on half inch and then I turned. So this is it looking neat. So you can see I've notched the mid point here. I folded it into two, I notched. And then I'm bringing the lower collar. I notched the midpoint here. Remember I said that this is the part that will be joined to the collar, and then this is the base of the collar, the lower part. So I'm going to place it like this, the midpoint against midpoint, and also midpoint against midpoint here. Okay, so I'll pin it this way. I'll make sure that I pin properly so that whatever difference I have here, which is that 1.5 that I cut out from the main collar, is what I'll have on this side. So I'll pin it and then I'll show us how to sew it. My collar. So the next thing to do is to sew it on half inch. Can you see? I'll be starting from here like this, and then I'll sew on half inch all the way to this point. Here, like this, you can see that I left this part that is not folded, this half inch that is not folded. So I'll be sewing on this part that is folded. Then I'll sew it all the way to the end. Sewing my collar. So the next thing now to do is to turn it out. You can see how I sewed this curve. So it's to turn it out like this. turn it out like this too. So I'll check and see. Remember that I left 1.5. So you need to confirm the distance you have here must correspond with the distance you have on this side. You can see that both of them are corresponding even without ironing it. So I'll take it to my pressing table and press it well, and then of course I'll notch this part so that it will relax well. So to fit my collar, I brought my shirt in. I folded it into two. That's making sure, can you see my shoulders are aligning, the front is aligning at the midpoint here. So I notched the center, you can see, I notched it. So I'll bring in my collar like this, and then I'll fold the collar into two, can you see? And then I'll notch it here. So I'll now place this collar, good face of this collar facing the bad face of my shirt. Can you see? Good face of the collar facing the bad face. Of course, even if you turn it to the other side, they are all good faces. So I'll pin this point. That's, I'm placing it from inside, from the wrong side of my shirt. So I'll pin it all the way to this point. Can you see? So I'll pin it, then I'll show us how to sew it. I've sewn my collar to the shirt. Can you see? I've sewn it on the wrong side. So now I want to flip it to this side. So that's the essence of this ½ inch that was folded in. So make sure that you trim out your excess threads. So now this ½ inch that was folded in, I'll just flip it this way. Now bringing it to the good face of that's to the right side of my shirt. Okay? So I'll bring it this way. Can you see? So I'll go ahead to pin it. You see, I'm going to use it to cover it up. That's to push in the rough parts into the collar. So I'll go ahead to pin it, and then I'll show us how to top stitch your collar. So all this way to show you. Pinned my collar. And so the next thing to do now is to top stitch this collar to the shirt. But before I do that, I'm going to, while I'm doing that, not before I do that, I'm going to sew from here to like here, maybe like 4 inches before I'll turn it and start from this side. You don't want to finish sewing your collar and then you notice one being longer than the other. So to avoid that problem, that is why I'm saying you sew, maybe you can just sew 3 to 4 inches here, and then you flip it to this side and sew from here. This is to avoid any of those problems. So this is me doing it. I'm going to show. So I'm making sure that I'm sewing very close to the tip here. So I'm stopping here at the 4 inches or 3 inches I talked about. So you just remove your thread, trim out your excesses, and then I'll turn it to this side now. And make sure that you also tuck in that part very well. You don't want to see some rough parts on your collar. So I'm sewing. It neatly. So after doing this is not compulsory. If you want to, you just top stitch all these parts. This will help hold your collar down and make it firmer and even finer. So it just depends on what you want, but I'm going to be doing that. So I'm just going to top stitch around all these parts that I joined. Then I'll show us the outcome. So I've neatly top stitched my collar, as you can see. So this is what I will have when I fold it. So the next thing to do is to bring in my sleeve and fix my sleeve to the armhole. Then I'll go ahead and shape it on ½ inch. I'm going to be sewing it on ½ inch. Remember, I added 2 inches sewing allowance. 1 inch is for my ease, but in this case, this person wants this shirt very free, so I'll be sewing on ½ inch. So that at the end of the day, I've added 6 inches. So the shirt is really going to be free, so that the buttons are not opening at all, and then it's going to even be tucked in. So that's it. So if you want to just have your normal ease, you can just sew on 1 inch if you are using the same amount of allowance that I added. So I'm going to add my sleeve now, and then I'll shape it on half inch. Then I'll show us the outcome on the mannequin. Here we are. This is the outcome of our shirt. You can see how beautiful it looks. I hope you enjoyed sewing the shirt with me. If you did, please kindly subscribe to my channel, share this video, like it, comment, share it with your fashion friends. Thanks for watching. See you in my next one. Bye.